Oh.
We are Brightside Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds. Welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The Home Theater Podcast, it's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes.
I saw you looking like, is he going to get this in time? Is he going to hit the right button? Are we going to be searching? 2 weeks in a row, Steve, we're back.
We are back. Yes, it's a new record. I have to say, I thought John sounded remarkably not jet lagged in that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He is back in the States. Very excited for that. But as excited, I mean, he knows. It's like, I love him to death, but this is exciting. I couldn't wait to start. This is how we're opening the show. We'll get to the chat in a little bit. We'll get to everything else. But this is huge to me for various reasons. But Steve, we know what's home theater about, what's everything about. It's like life gives you lemons. You can make lemonade or learn how to sell lemons, right? From the show that we watched this earlier
we'll use them
this
as
year.
missiles.
Yeah, exactly. We in home theater, in life, and everything, it's like crap happens. You got to adapt, shift, do something different. You want something over here, but you can't do that, so you do that, and we call that like Plex, or we call that, because if everybody knows where I'm going with this stuff, anything happens. It's like, adapt, overcome, move forward, do all that. That's what home theater is about. That's what's life about. Otherwise, you're just sitting still going, well. I have as a PD. I try and work so hard. Here's the word, start drinking, Paul, my buddy over there. Start drinking. Here we go. Kaleidescape, over 20 years ago, Kaleidescape came out, $40,000. I remember reading about it and going, this, like, being able to access this information and be able to get to my scenes as quick as possible, $40,000, I couldn't do that. There's no way. So we did all the media players. We do all the silly things. Microsoft had their version, everything. People are doing Plex. You're still doing all that. That's great because we're trying to adapt. We're trying to get to do what Kaleidescape did and was doing. Followed them for years, admired them for years. Price came down. Wanted one, finally saved up. I got mine years ago. It's not a movie player. It is. It's an experience. Go watch my video from 2 or 3 years ago, whenever it was, right? It's an experience. What does everybody complain about? The price. This. Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Why don't they have all this? Why don't they? This weekend, it drops. The Strato V movie player. It's like, you know what V stands for?
Is it 5? I do hope it's 5.
No,
isn't it?
It could be. That's a good call. It has Dolby Vision.
Okay.
They finally got Dolby Vision, which everybody asked for. A lot of people don't. I don't need Dolby Vision. Because I'm running it I have a Lumigen, I have a projector. Dolby Vision wouldn't work here anyways, but for people that want Dolby Vision, now you got it. So there you got that. But it's so much more. They've answered the question. It's coming in I was so excited about this. I did get early information. I was told I can't say anything until just this morning. So I was so excited that it was today, because if it was tomorrow, I'd be like, oh crap, I'd have to sit here quietly. And I was like, oh my God, I could not wait for 9 a.m. this morning. I could not wait. I was DMing, texting, emailing people that were like, did you know? Did you know? Did you know? And I'm like, nope, didn't know. Some of you I didn't know at the time. And then I found out the information later, but I couldn't tell anybody. So And I'm super excited to be involved in that. That was new to me, right? I had an embargo. Oh, cool. So anyways, so here's the information, right? I'm so excited. I texted Josh at Kaleidescape. I'm like, I'm so excited for you guys. This is awesome. How much and when can I get mine? And he texts back. He goes, the information isn't in the packet. I was like, oh. I was so excited. I didn't know. I didn't see the price or anything. So it's 39. When we look, I am still so excited about it. It's $39.95. So $4,000. $4,000 to get you in, and it holds 10 movies and has the ability to, like, you can set the movies to be deleted automatically within 48 hours. So while you're building your collection, you can be deleting, and that's basically what I'm doing. I'm getting, and here's my favorite part of it. The Kaleidescape system now has just turned into like what's great about the iPhone. Everybody handles your iPhone, or any phone really, differently now, right? You program it, you do it, you make it your own. If you're an artist, you do certain things with it. If you're a business guy, you do certain things with it. Kaleidescape is doing that. You want to start small, you come in here and I know $4,000's a lot, but by the time you're, like Giles and I were saying, by the time you're done setting up your entire Plex system, you've probably spent $4,000 or thereabouts, right? And I know my Zapiti system, I spent more than that just to get that thing going. But Kaleidescape was more money then. This is a decent entry-level price for an amazing experience that I've been experiencing. And when I told my son about this, he goes, oh God, if they had that years ago, you would have had yours a long time ago. I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's I'm going to add this to my system ASAP as soon as I can get it. This makes the Strato S pretty much obsolete, because the Strato S was the cheapest version you could find on eBay. And that was going for between $3,000 and $4,000. And it has a larger hard drive, but it doesn't have the capabilities of this. This has a solid state drive. It has the ability to download within 10 minutes. The Strato S does not. The Strato S will take 40 minutes to download a movie, even on a 1 gig, connection. My favorite, not my favorite, but this comes in black. It only comes in black, not like you can choose, but I mean, how cool is that? So, the line from the movie, does it come in black?
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
It does. So, this is going in my living room. Okay. So I'm getting this for my living room, which my TV in my living room has Dolby Vision. I'm getting this ASAP. And here's the part that's great. Why I was shopping for a Strato S is so when I do home theater visits, home theater tours, unplug, play, just like they do at Cedia. All I need I come to your house and you've never experienced a Kaleidescape. I just take this is smaller. It's nicer. Just pack it up, take it with me. That's all I got to do. All I need on the other end, HDMI, plug it in. Don't need any internet connection or anything. Just plug it in, and we're off and running and enjoying Kaleidescape at your place, just like they do when they go to Cedia. That's why they use Strato S's. The older versions. I have a feeling that this year when we get to Cedia, like everybody's going to be using these things because they're going to be like, that's, showing them off, which they should. Absolutely. I can't wait to do that. And then I was even thinking earlier today, I'm like, I go on vacation. When I go to Cedia, I could take 10 of my movies with me. Just pack up the Kaleidescape, plug it in. There you go. And it's like, so I already have a Kaleidescape ecosystem. So this, to me, it is just going to be an addition to me. And now I'll be able to watch all my Kaleidescape stuff up in the living room. But if you don't have a Kaleidescape system and you've been wanting to get into the system, here's the saddest part. They're not going to be on sale on eBay. They aren't. I think this piece is people aren't going to be unloading this piece. They'll take this piece, they'll buy it, and then they'll add a hard drive later when they get enough, when they've saved up enough to just buy a hard drive. You see what I mean? Whereas the Strato S there was an upgrade there. You're not upgrading this piece. You're keeping this piece and adding to it. Okay? It should be called the Strato Lego. You just keep adding bricks. But it's so I don't see a lot of these showing up on eBay because somebody bought it and has regrets. Because in all my years of talking about Kaleidescape, even before I had one, I've only heard of one person. That was recently. I think it was Nelson. Nelson told me he knew somebody that bought one and just wasn't happy with the system and they got rid of it. But other than that, everybody, all the stuff you see on eBay is always people upgrading. So I usually, if once you've gotten into into a Kaleidescape system, you've already gotten past the price point. You've justified all that. You get this into your home, and then you're like, it's so much more than I even thought it was. People aren't getting rid of it. So I don't think that's going to happen here. I'm really excited for them. I'm really excited. I mean, everybody thinks they're so expensive, they're this and that. They're not a huge company. I think this is huge for them. And I think it's huge for us. More and more people are going to have them now, and it's just more attainable, which when you go back 20 plus years, $40,000, and here we are at 4,000 and you're in, and this is better than it was 40 years ago. So 4K, Atmos, DTSX, whatever, you get the entire system. It's basically you're getting the experience. So can I take a breath, Steve? Your thoughts, please?
You can. Yeah, okay. Can I slightly pour some water on the fire?
You can
only
try.
from my own experience. This is definitely a huge step in the right direction. There's no question about that. This is good news for everybody. But I'm not there yet. And I was thinking about this earlier because you texted me earlier and I looked it up and I saw the price. I was thinking, now, okay, is that within financial range for me? Yes. But am I still at the point where I think I need it? And I'm not there yet.
And that's fine. Because that's right. Because go ahead. Sorry.
Yes,
right. Go ahead.
You're okay. That's right. Because there are still the issues that I've had with Kaleidescape from before. They haven't been resolved. I mean, I don't need Dolby Vision. I don't. My screen is not huge, but it's big enough and is suitable quality that Dolby Vision makes no difference to me. I mean, and I A/B'd it, and it's just not worth it. I just don't need it, and I don't care whether I get it or not. So the Vision thing, I don't need. My issue is with my internet access, both in terms of the speed. It's too slow to make this worthwhile. It would download a movie in hours, and bearing in mind it's only 10 gig or whatever, 10 movies, then that's not going to be enough time for me to make that worthwhile. That would drive me crazy. So my internet speed's a problem, and for most people, I suspect in the UK, Deej, that will be an issue because mine's probably better than average, and we're only talking about 130 odd meg. We're not talking a gig, nowhere near it. Right. So one, the speed's problem. Two, we've talked before about the location of the Kaleidescape in terms of I presume it does have Wi-Fi, but then again, that still is going to slow everything else down and cause issues. And of course, the issue as well for me is I don't feel the convenience of it. I don't need to. I'm happy to get up and swap a disc. I don't disconnect in that way. Right. Now, the only thing that would genuinely make me think, okay, do you know what? I will spring for one is not the cost. It's not the architecture. It's not the location. It's not the thing. It's the availability of the movies. Because I don't think you and I have ever quite got to the bottom of, is it the same here as it is in the US? Right. Now, if you said to me, oh, look, Kaleidescape say if it's out in the US, it's out here and you can get and I don't think they will. But if it is, that is what would make me spring for it because I'm always jealous, Deej, when you're like, look, oh, no, I've got Fall Guy. Oh, I've got Furiosa. I've got, months and months and months before it. Now, that is the most attractive thing to me about Kaleidescape. And yet I believe and I think, and I think Paul, saying there in the chat, until the catalog gets a lot broader, it's going to stay a niche product for us. I think that's it. I think if Kaleidescape said tomorrow the movies in the US are the same as the ones in the UK, I would be more tempted. I would, and I think that's when that little voice in the back of my head that goes, buy it, Steve, buy it. Then I might do. But until then, it is definitely moving in the right direction. It is very exciting and it's very cool. But for me, and I say this as someone who is a voracious movie buyer and collector and watcher, I'm still not quite at that I've got to have it moment. It's not far off though, because as I said, they're moving in the right direction, but I'm not quite there yet.
For you.
But
Right.
yeah,
And
exactly.
like
And I can only
anything.
speak for myself. Yeah.
Right. And that's fair. And that's a great point. It's like,
Mhm.
that's what's going to make you hesitate, right? The early release is a great selling point, but I've actually talked people down. Don't buy it for that, because once you get the early release, if we didn't have a show, it wouldn't even be a big deal to me, because all of a sudden, if I was just literally in my basement all alone, it wouldn't be an early release to me. That's just when I got it, right? It's only an early release for you and I now because, everybody we're talking to doesn't have it yet. Most home theater people, it's like, I spent 30 years all alone. So when I got it, I got it. I never even got to talk to anybody, whether I got it on the day, ran to Walmart at 6 a.m. to buy my movie and come home and watch it before I went to work at 9. Okay, that was the release day. I had nobody I was talking to. I got to work and they were like, who cares? Who cares Captain America Winter Soldier came out this morning? They're like, what movie is that? In the theaters? No, at home. I got up and watched it. Nobody cared. So if I had a Kaleidescape then, it would be a month earlier, 2 months earlier. Nobody would still care. It's like, it's only now that it becomes a thing, right? So don't buy one of these just to get the early release, because all that does is change the date you got it. And then once you're in there, that's it, right? You get it because there's something more. There's something, like, I think that I can only describe it to you enough. Like, I think your system, you could have so much, you'd have the integrator come in, they would program it. It'd be one button, done, lights go down, things go on, popcorn machine makes a noise of puffs a smell in your room. Who cares? It's all connected, and it changes that entire experience for you. And because it does so much more that I can't even get, the abilities for yet. But the thing is, that's the thing. If it's not for you, it's not for you yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this piece, the Strato V, is answering the questions of so many people that wanted, I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for this. It's still not for everybody, but this answers for a lot of people, and it makes it more attainable to people. I got a few comments here I want to jump on. Paul in the chat also saying it's kind of like the Apple TV approach, where your purchases live in the cloud and you just download as needed, except uses way more bandwidth. Yes, of course. If you have the 1 gig connection, now you're going to be able to get that movie in like 10 minutes, and you're going to get full quality, in some cases, better quality than physical. And I've been over that many times on this show. Why? You can argue with me if you're wrong, if you want, but you're wrong, because there are cases where the Kaleidescape is better. Most of the time it's equal to, never less than. And then on an equal playing field. Let's see. So yes, it's like that, but the Apple TV approach, here's the thing. I'm in that ecosystem right now. I have about 160 movies on my system in my house. The rest, which is over 400 movies, are in the cloud. So you're basically, by starting like this, you're starting with 10, and then you can add more, and they're sitting in the cloud, and I'm going back and forth all the time. Okay, so is doing nothing different than what I already have, other than it doesn't have a larger hard drive. Okay, let me pull that down. And then Mikey in the chat, Mikey Schramm, is saying, I wish it had the normal Kaleidescape home screen. So it does. It has the capabilities of that. The problem with the full Kaleidescape home screen is that you need to populate your home system, what isn't in the cloud, your home system, with enough to fill that screen. So for all intents, if you're only holding 10 movies, and you're probably going to hold like 8, that way you can always add at any time and then drop and add. if you're only holding about 8 movies, that's all that's going to be on your home screen. Right. So when I first bought mine, the only thing that was up there the first time was Star Wars. And then you add and add and add, and then your screen gets busier and busier and busier. And when I add this to my system in my living room, it'll look just like the rest of my system because I have a hard drive. I have a Strato, what do they call it? The C and I forget now all the things, but I have a 12 terabyte hard drive. So unless I missed information and I didn't see it, I doubt this has a completely different home screen. I just think it's going to look different because you don't have a hard drive to populate your home screen yet. And that's been something Nelson actually has found a way to fix that too. But it's really convoluted. Brett Bjorquist and I have talked about it on the show. It is one of the pet peeves that I wish I could populate my screen with everything I don't own. That way I could go on there and then click on it and say, oh, you don't actually have that. Do you want to download it? Yeah, boom. But you can do everything from your phone. Like on my phone, I go here and it's like, I'll show you the phone. So that's the Kaleidescape app. And then I go to more, here's my movies, and you see on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, look close, it says downloaded to the system, but then you can also hit not downloaded to the system, and I could see everything and just click on it, and then I'll say download, and I'll have it in 10 minutes. I wish that had the capability at home. I actually talked to the engineers at Kaleidescape a while ago. Why they don't do that is because each of those pictures takes up space on your hard drive. So they're trying to conserve your hard drive for the good stuff, for the movie itself. And then I talked to Brett about that as well. And it's like, I wish there was a possibility where you could choose, right? Like give me the choice. I'll take the sacrifice and space on my hard drive to have everything that maybe I lose. How much space is it? 1 gig tops. So maybe half a movie or not half a movie, but a little bit of a movie. I wouldn't be able to, it's going to shrink my hard drive by that much just for all the pictures. But now everything is there on my screen. Judging by what they did here with the, Strato V, I have a feeling they'll answer that question someday too, because they've answered a lot of questions with this. So, you see any comments up here that you?
Yeah, there's one that TSG Spartan says, could you use it in conjunction with a VPN in the UK? I don't know. I'm not sure.
You could, but you're gonna VPNs are so slow. You're gonna throttle the system, right? And you like VPNs typically are running at, if you can get a VPN to run at like 100 megabytes a second, that's good. But it's gonna throttle the system big time, and you're gonna be looking at an hour, 2 hours to download a movie. And that's just not, it's just not feasible.
No.
So yeah, I'm not even sure if it's possible. I know I have a VPN here and I could see stuff in the UK that's available there on Kaleidescape. And I don't even remember if I tried it or not. It might not, because the Kaleidescape itself is registered here. So even the VPN would, if I remember now, I think I did try it and it told me no, because it's a US Kaleidescape. And then, but you wouldn't want to do it anyways, because I know VPNs are so slow.
I mean, I'm and also, I wouldn't have expected it to work internationally in that way either, because if you think about it, the Kaleidescape licensed these movies in very close conjunction with the studios, and I cannot imagine for 1 minute the studios are happy for Kaleidescape to be able to release a movie worldwide when sometimes those movies haven't even come out in those countries yet in theaters. So this is what makes me think that if I had one here, I'd have a UK store, not a US store, and never the twain shall meet. Which just, for me, it's less of an attractive proposition, because it is. And I know you say about, for me, early getting of these movies, because I'm impatient, Deej, massively impatient. And I mean, I don't care whether anyone else knows I've seen it or not. I want to see it as soon as possible and in the best way. And so, I'm very impatient, and that is the USP for me. That's what would trigger me to think, right, you know what, I need it. It's not the fit. It's not getting up and changing the disc. I quite like going to the equipment room and doing that. I can stare lovingly at all my discs when I do it. I don't. I'm not bothered about the.
Oh my God! What would you do without all those little white folders?
Hey man, it does let me see the collection I've got. In fairness,
Yeah.
So it is all there. And hey,
Yeah.
Ara said it's a work of art, Deed. So there.
It is. It is. It is.
So
here's.
Yeah, go on.
All right. So here's one from Eddie Mogumbo in the chat. Really interested in moving to the Kaleidescape ecosystem. However, what deters me is that they don't have any native support for DTSX or Oro 3D. Plus, some titles are haphazardly graded as 4K HDR/SDR. They do have DTSX, and I would push back hard on haphazardly graded as 4K HDR/SDR. So these movies, they're not like you're not getting these movies. It's not from like Turbine, for instance, or any of the other boutique Blu-ray 4K companies that will put out a disc saying it's 4K or it's Atmos or whatever. Any movie that is on Kaleidescape is from the is directly from the studio. This is what the studio wants. So when they actually, and we did it with what was the Jurassic Park World Dominion, the latest one? Is that Steve?
It was, yeah. Oh gosh. So
Yeah.
we always get this wrong, don't
whatever it was, the latest one, right? It was
Dominion.
Atmos. Was it Dominion?
Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's not the point. But it was Atmos on Kaleidescape and DTSX on disc. I've done the AB, blind AB with people in the room. Some people heard a difference, but then you went back and it was like, I like that one better, or this one had more, and nobody could ever go back and forth and get the exact same answer. It just depended on when you played what. Nelson said he heard something a little bit more in the tone, but you have to be crazy like A-Bing this to even hear any kind of a difference. Not to mention, I've done all the ABs. You got an Atmos disc, like Shane was talking last week. How many times? We don't know if we're getting an Atmos or an up converted. Is it real? We're going to talk about that later. What you're getting on the Kaleidescape is from the studio. It's what the studio wants. So, and we've talked about that on the show quite a few times, many, many times. Like, I'll have a DTS Master Audio 5.1, and you'll have, like on disc, it's the Atmos, but it's a back catalog title, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone back and forth with the two of them, and the Kaleidescape version is just as good. Just as good. So you're wondering, like, did they just, like Shane said last week, did they just run it through a system and up convert it? Because when I'm listening on my end through the Kaleidescape, I up convert to Neural X. So I'm still getting the full surround sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can do the same thing on their end. They can take a 5.1 mix, say, turn this into an object-based sound, and all it does is up convert it. They don't actually remix it to an object base. They just up convert it, put it on the disc, send it out, and now you get the little flag saying you're getting DTSX or Atmos. You're getting DTS or Atmos at home when you up convert to your full room. So, and I've done the ABs. I've done all that. So, and Eddie, I'm not picking on you, buddy, in the chat. This is the stuff that people talk about, and I like to, like, I've done all of this. You can believe me, don't believe me. But if you've never heard it, you've never done the ABs, wait till you do. Get a chance to AB. Get a chance to watch and listen. Get a chance to experience it. If you don't like it, you can return it or sell it on eBay or whatever. But I haven't heard anybody do that. I'm sorry, one person in my whole life. I don't remember who it was.
So we've got just because there's someone new. So we've got someone in called Old School Kung Fu Films.
Yeah.
I like you already. That's fine. That's what I like to hear his name. Says, so Old School Kung Fu Films, the Kaleidescape's not for me. I'm not into Kung Fu films. Sorry, I am into Kung Fu films. There are very few of these films sold on Kaleidescape. So, that's fair enough, isn't it? If there are particular niche titles you're into, that's fine. Can I say Old School Kung Fu Films? Because that is your name.
Yeah.
We probably won't get to it this week, but next week we'll be talking Jet Li's Fist of Legends from 1994, the new 4K release on that. And if you haven't seen that, prepare for awesomeness. More to come on that, but oh boy, was that good.
Yeah.
And then we've got Ariel Alanis, who says he's waiting for the Brady Bunch before he purchases one.
You're probably gonna be waiting.
It could be a while, but hey, who knows? That'll be the Strato V for Brady Bunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Pre-installed.
But I will say to old school kung fu films, if you watch my video from a couple years ago, it's what I say, and I say to this day, if you want access to the best possible version of of a movie, right? You need to own a Kaleidescape. And that's how I've been. Okay. That's one of the things for me is one of the advantages of this for me has always been, I've always been looking for the best possible version of a movie. Okay. I love the ability to flip from scene to scene. That's the other advantage for me. But if you want access to the best possible version of a movie, you need a Kaleidescape. Now, if you're in the chat or listening to this later and say, but they don't have everything. I didn't say they did, but they do have stuff that you can't get on disc. There's, Turbine had up until recently had access to the best possible version of Twister, right? Shout puts out the best part. Now, are you only going to say that I'm only buying studio movies and not buy from a boutique company? No, you'll buy that. But here you go. Kaleidescape does have some of the only best versions of movies. So if you want the best possible version of a movie, and that's important to you, then you do need a Kaleidescape because there are things in there they have that nobody else does. You have access to stuff nobody else does. Now, I'd still buy discs because there is stuff that doesn't exist inside the ecosystem that I need to get because I want the best possible version. Just like when I have VHS and I wanted the best possible version, I got Laserdisc and just went to DVD, went to Blu-ray, went to this, went to that. It's like, so that's why that sentence, that idea holds true. And if all you care about is old school kung fu films, then this definitely isn't for you. But if you like me, all my favorite movies, I want the best version wherever that is. And now I think I can get it, whether I have to import it or whatever.
Yeah, but it's not a binary choice anyway, is it? It's not like, well, I've bought a Kaleidescape, so I'm not allowed to buy anything on disc anymore.
Exactly.
You can pick and choose, so there's no reason why not. In that respect. So in terms of the choice, you can still get both as you do, and as you've just said. But there we go. But as I said, it's great. It's a step in the right direction. I can see why people are excited about this. Good. We've been talking about Kaleidescape tipping into the mass market at some point for a number of years. And it all power to them. This is their next step on to worldwide domination. And I for one welcome our new Kaleidescape overlords.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I just think of everything they've been through, watching them for over 20 years and seeing this now. That's why when I heard about it this weekend, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So I'm just super excited.
We better, just because there are clearly new people in the chat, we are not sponsored. Are we?
Oh God, no!
Just because it's always someone's first show. We better say we are not sponsored by Kaleidescape as much as we'd like to be.
No, I don't even want to be.
No,
even if they offered, I wouldn't. I'd be like, no, because I'm like, I've loved them before I met. I'm very good friends with Brett now. I met him through Joe Klusnick, who's like, oh, and Joe heard me on the show raving about Kaleidescape, and he's like, hey, I know this guy Brett, he works for Kaleidescape, do you want to talk to him? I'm like, yeah. And go back and listen to that show. I think I opened the show with, Brett, I'm trying to get through the show without spending all my money. And Brett was awesome then too. He was like, you don't need, if you can't get it, you can't get it. And we talked about Zapiti, we talked about everything else. But yeah, so excited for this. So excited.
Yeah, it's cool. It is cool. But yeah, we always want to make that point because someone coming in might not know that because we're just excited.
Yeah. Well, I can get that way.
You can. So Bill McAllister, by the way, says, wow, a Strato for all us peasants.
Exactly.
comment through X as well, by the way. So well, Bill, like that. A couple of X comments tonight, actually.
Yeah, and
which is
actually, I noticed in the in our behind the scenes stuff here, it's saying your X isn't active for some reason.
No, because you've got to
What
be
happened?
you have to have an X, whatever the upgraded subscription is to do it, and I cancelled mine. So this
okay.
is new. This is only since we last met. It looks like they've
Yes.
done that because it went fine last time. But
Yeah.
so I'm no longer a blue tick. I'm not paying that every month.
Oh,
So yeah.
okay.
So
Well, if you,
no, I noticed it too. I was messing around with it and I realized that it says you've got to be
okay.
X. What does it say? Premium account with X.
Okay. Well,
Shove
if
it,
you want to
Elon.
get it
Sorry,
back out
did I
there,
say that?
I'll pay it.
No,
I'll
don't be
pay it
silly.
out
You're
of
not
our
paying.
Patreon. Our patrons will pay for it. Get us more exposure. Absolutely.
We'll talk about it off air.
Okay. All right. And when you see him back getting this blue check, you'll know why.
Yeah, I haven't had that for months and months
Really?
and months.
Oh.
Yeah, long time. I didn't see the point. Anyway,
all right,
moving on.
let's get to the chat.
Yes.
Why don't you hit the chat?
Hello, everyone in the chat. Hi, everyone. 42 minutes in. Well,
really?
35 minutes. 35 minutes in.
Oh my God.
So Mikey was first in. Hi, Mikey.
Mm.
He was first, and very pleased, saying, "All right, first place." So well done, Mikey.
There we go.
Captain AC3 was number 2. Van Gool's in. Steve Att is in. They're talking about Prime Day, of course, and the reductions and stuff. Todd, by the way, put out some quite cool stuff earlier. Todd Anderson over at AV Nirvana. He put out a list of some quite cool deals that he spotted, so that was quite cool. So Mike dropped in. Some guy called Steve George dropped in. I don't know who that is. Some idiot. Then we have, well, I accept that. Some other idiot called Brightside Home Theatre. I think he's just stealing our thunder. Dropped in as well. Paul Hurt's in. Hiya, Paul, as always. Jordan's in. Ariel's in, as we have heard. And who else? We got Pixel Jen. That's another X comment saying amazing day for AV lovers. So another new one, I think. Hiya, Pixel Jen. And TSG Spartan's in. Eddie's in. We've talked about Eddie. Carl's in, and hi Carl, and Old School Kung Fu Films, obviously, as we've been talking about, and Greg the Awesome Ninja's just dropped in as well. Someone who I think you've met. Pretty sure you've met him.
I've met him
once or twice.
I've met him.
So there we go.
He's all right.
So he's okay. He's all right. We don't mind him. I like to think of him as sort of protecting me from the ravages of the trench, but I'm not going any more from that. I'm not going to go into that any further. Because we know what happened last time. Deep cuts. That's how you'll know if you've been listening for a while, if you get that joke.
Yeah, exactly. That was that is a deep cut.
Well, deep trench, and nearly ended up in a deep grave.
Stop right there. Stop. Oh, geez.
Alrighty. So there we go. Hi everyone, welcome to the show.
Yeah, there we go.
All
right.
Oh, I see VJ's just jumping in saying he's not here. Oh, okay. Richard Zagazeski's in. Hi, Rich. And Bill says off X. That feels
better. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You could do both, and then we get credit on both for views.
Double trouble. Yeah, we like it.
There you go. Oh, geez. Here we go. Let's see. Turn that down.
Oh,
what's that?
Here's someone new.
Hey, how's she doing?
I don't know how long Jennifer Briggs has been listening, over the years. Probably our first show, I'm thinking.
Yeah. The one that started this all.
You know why, DJ? You know why she's listening? Because it's like, what is DJ saying he's buying now?
Yeah, exactly. She heard through the door, and now I'm in trouble. It's like, oh no, don't worry about that little black box underneath the TV in the living room.
I'm just waiting for
that.
I'm just waiting for the little sort of the little hook to come out from the side of your screen and grab you around the neck.
Yeah,
pull you off the screen.
Don't give her any ideas.
Yeah, Jen. Whilst he's down here, if you want to hide the credit cards, you feel free.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately.
Look at this. This is becoming the Brady Bunch.
I know. What the? Where was it? Oh,
heard it live.
Oh, I heard it live. All right. So, all right. Well,
Well, it was nice knowing you, Deej.
Yep. Big trouble. Big trouble. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no. Before I dig myself a deeper hole, where are we going next?
Okay, so we're going to jump to some experiences then. You've got to get
Yes.
through them. They're racking up, and as much as
know.
I like,
What do you want to
get them
go
out,
with? Do you just want to go in order, or do you want
go in
to?
order that they're there. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do
that's
that.
great. This one will
We
be
got
quite a
this?
quick one, I think. Yep,
Because I only have the one, and I'll save mine for the end. You know what mine is, so we'll just plow right through yours.
Yeah, go for it.
While, while I beg for forgiveness from my wife. Let's go. All right.
Okie dokie. So this then is Team America World Police on 4K UHD disc, and in unfortunately DTS HD 5.1. No Atmos, no DTSX, but that's fine. Now, Deej, how many times have you seen this?
Never. Yeah,
Mr. Briggs, what? I am appalled. Right,
I don't know
okay.
why it never.
How
it never
have you missed
struck
this
me.
film?
I don't know. It never struck me. It really didn't. I was just like,
okay, all right. Well, I highly, highly recommend this film when you're in an appropriately silly mood. Because it is, I mean, I don't know.
Gonna be a while.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know if you're a South Park fan or is it Matt Parker and Trey Stone, or Trey Parker, Matt Stone? I don't know. I don't know how big a fan you are of their work and their previous stuff. If you like it, you will love this. If you don't like it, you might not.
Yeah.
But this film is, I mean, it's awesome as a movie. I've seen it far too many times, and I've had the DVD, which had the rated and the unrated version on it, and the unrated version is very unrated, and I'm not going anywhere near the cut footage in that. I'm not even going to go near it. Now, this is a release which has it's got it's 2-disc edition. It's got the theatrical version is in 4K. The unrated one is on Blu-ray only, but it's the first time on Blu-ray, I think. Yeah, because previously the unrated one was only on DVD. And the movie is an absolute riot. I absolutely love this film. It is bananas. It is subversive in every way. The music in it, the songs in it are endlessly singable. And if you are not tooling along the highway, once you've seen this, screaming at the top of your lungs, America, F yeah, then, you're just not human. It's awesome, and this film hasn't aged a day. It's still very, very cool. So anyway, I watched it 2-3 weeks ago now, on the day of release. Really good fun, as the movie still holds up in terms of the AV experience. Now, bearing in mind it's a movie with puppets, and it's kind of, it's deliberately silly. It still looks actually really good. The jump to 4K has made a difference, and so you can see details that you've never seen before. You deliberately you can see strings and everything. I mean, that's always been there. That's part of the silliness of it. But there is detail that's not been seen before. There is some really decent wider color gamut stuff. You can see details on, like, there's one scene where someone is supposedly going undercover in the Middle East, and they've just stuck bits of a beard on his face, and that's him going undercover. And you can see the glue where they've stuck it on the puppet and stuff, which I've not really noticed before. So it's very silly, but very funny.
Like Sharpie on a shark.
Yeah, well, exactly that. Yeah, although this is deliberate. They knew you'd see this. And the audio is decent as well. I mean, bearing in mind that obviously it's all ADR. They've got big guns, and the guns sound really powerful and strong.
It's all ADR. It's all ADR. Is it breaking news? These puppets don't really talk.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. But you've got also they've deliberately overhyped it and pumped it, so you get the guns sound like absolutely massive. Yeah. So the guns go bang, 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 which is funny in and of itself, bearing in mind how silly it is. And so that sounds really good. It is the same audio track as the previous releases, though, as I understand it, but it sounded great to me. I hadn't seen it in Cinema George. So I really like this. This is well worth picking up. If you like the movie, and most people absolutely love it, then I would definitely recommend this. It is uproarious. It's the South Park team. So, it's over the top. It's deliberately silly. But you will never look at puppets the same way again after you've seen it. Of that, there can be no doubt. So yeah, very good and well worth seeing. And I had a great time with it. And again, for days afterwards, I was singing the songs when there was no one else around.
Steve, you went to school for being an attorney.
Law
I went
school,
to-
yes.
Yeah. So you go to law school.
Yeah.
John and I went to school for art.
Yes.
I don't think you can tell us we'll never look at puppets the same way again.
I'm telling you.
The stuff we've seen and
Please.
done.
I'm
John, when he
sure
hears this, he'll be like, yeah.
I have no doubt, Deej, that
Artists
it
did
was-
this.
Yes.
I'm not saying everything I did. I've seen what people do, and I know what I do, and it's like, as soon as you can draw things.
I have to, honestly, Deej. All right, there are things they do in this that should probably not be on screen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll leave it there. The unrated version is very unrated. Whatever you do, anyone listening, if you haven't seen this and you are tempted to see it, do not think puppets. Oh, the kids will like that.
For children, right? Yeah. No. No, absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greg says the Muppets do get pretty out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So anyway, very, very
All right.
funny, really good and well worth seeing. So there you go.
I have too much family in the chat right now to make a few comments.
You're being monitored, Deej. Do you ever get the
Yeah,
impression you're
I
being
am.
watched?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, very funny. Right. There you go. Yes. Watch out.
Oh, my God.
I loved it. All right. Moving on then before trouble lands. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I can't.
Always think of Mikey Schramm sat around listening with his family.
I could say it, but it wouldn't be inappropriate. You'd have to know. Oh my God. That's so funny. Okay. We done?
Yeah. Well, let's move on before something happens.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Bill says, took my 12-year-old son to this when it was in theaters. He's 33 and he still talks about it.
I bet.
Yeah, wowzers, Bill.
Oh my God.
Wowzers. You couldn't do that over here. It was a 15 when it came out here. I mean, Jordan now says in the chat, the unrated one now has in the UK, they have to be rated. There's no such thing as an unrated film here.
Yeah.
The British Board of Film Classification have to rate it, and it's moved it from a 15 to an 18. An 18 rated movie. That's how bad the extra footage is.
Right.
Or how good, depending on how you think about it.
Yeah. If you're into that sort of thing.
Oh, goodness me.
All right. You good?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Oh, am I ready? I've been ready for 3 weeks for this, Deej.
Jeez. Sorry.
Hey, you're all right, buddy. Right. Okay. Are you sitting comfortably, ladies and gents? For we are about to begin.
Oh boy.
How long have we got, Deej?
It's story time.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, once upon a time.
Tell me a story.
Yeah, tell me a story. Oh, you don't want to know the story of this. Not to children anyway. Okay, so this then is In a Violent Nature. A movie that I saw. Now, this was on a screener. I'm not going to suggest I saw it in the cinema. I didn't. I saw this before it came out in the theaters here, but I saw it on a screener. It was a digital screener, and I saw this in Cinema George. And oh boy, am I glad I did. This film has become notorious, even really before it hit theaters, for doing something different. So, In a Violent Nature, the movie is a slasher film, an old school slasher, stalk and slash, masked killer, taking apart campers, quite literally, kind of movie. Now, so why would that be notorious? I hear you cry. Well, the reason is this film has been done by I think a first-time director. And this film, DJ, a while back we talked about like genre conventions. This idea that that genres do certain things the same way each time. There are things you expect to be in this genre. You have to do certain things. Well, this movie has been made by someone who clearly loves slasher films, but has decided to defy every single slasher movie genre convention. Okay, so if in a slasher film the person would go left, in this film they go right. If in a slasher film someone would go up, in this film they go down. And it is a deliberate attempt to do something completely different. And I was blown away by it. The film has almost no music, none.
Okay.
The film is told from the perspective of the killer. Right? And what I mean by that is this: the start of the film, it's not a spoiler, it's the opening shot, holds on a little medallion, a neck chain with a I don't know what you call it in there, like a locket. It holds on that whilst you hear people off screen doing stuff,
Mhm.
and it holds on that and never leaves it until the killer is revealed. And the movie then is told from the point of view of the killer. So you follow the killer pretty much throughout the film. You never really leave them. So instead of it being told from the point of the campers and the people in the woods, it's told from the
Right.
killer's perspective. And when they're having conversations, you only hear those when you're with the killer. And most of
Okay.
it's told from behind the back, and he just walks everywhere he goes. And it's just mind-blowing. I've never thought of that before. And yet that is what it does. And when the kills come, and the kills do come, and you can see from there some of the implements used from that
Yeah.
picture, if those watching on YouTube, they are absolute. And again, defining the convention of let's have the kills at night where you can't really see what happens. The
Right.
most violent and gory stuff takes place in broad daylight, not quick editing, in long takes, where you see every little thing happen, and stuff each happens. So I mean, it's
That's
just
important.
awesome. And yeah, well, quite it is. Oh yeah, but boy, does stuff happen. And in the last sort of 10 minutes of the film, you then, well, I don't know, it won't be 10, it feels like 10 minutes, it's probably 5 minutes, is some of the most tense scene construction of a film almost that I've ever seen, where there are two characters, something's happening, and you are just waiting for what comes next. And because the makers of this movie have seen every film you've seen, they've seen Friday the 13th, they've seen, Halloween, where the killer always
Yeah.
gets back up and all this stuff, and the killer's immortal, and they know you know it. And this last scene plays with that to where it's almost unbearably tense. It's fantastic. And well worth all the kind of plaudits it's been getting. It's bananas, but it's hard to explain it other than how I'm doing it without
Right.
without having seen it. I'm so curious to see what you and Jen make of it. I mean, I know you're not slasher film fans; it's not your thing, but I'd be so curious from an artistic point of view,
Yeah.
from a filmmaking point of view, to see
Yeah.
what you think of a movie that goes left when everyone else goes right, goes up when everyone else goes
Right.
down, and just defies all the rules, but still
Right.
within the same genre. It's really clever, and only a movie made on a shoestring budget would dare do it.
Right.
But it's
'Cause they're trying to be
really
different.
good.
And
Yeah,
that's what's,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I love that idea. I mean, we've talked
Yeah.
about other stuff, like just anything. It's like everybody's doing one thing, let's do something else, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody's doing, like, even this podcast, everybody's doing home theater gear or this or that, or they want to review movies. It's like nobody's talking about the experiences. Let's do that, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, and everybody's talking about Kaleidescape today, but nobody's talking about the experience. They're selling a product. I'm not selling a product. I don't care what you think of it. I don't care what you think of me. I'm just telling you why I love it. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Any of this stuff, right? And we say it all the
Yeah.
time. How many people in the chat? Oh, I hate this. Good for you. That's good. Good. There's stuff I hate. Evil Dead Rise. We're allowed.
Now come on.
But be different, and that's, I
Yeah,
love
well,
that stuff. And I think, honestly, if Jen's still watching, I think when you said from the killer's perspective, she's probably already looking this up. It's like,
Taking notes.
I want to see that. I want to know
yeah.
what a killer's
Well,
thinking.
I've got plans.
I'm scared.
yeah, that's it. There you go.
Did anybody buy a Kaleidescape in this movie?
yeah, exactly. How was the dismembering again?
Yeah, exactly. There
But
goes the head.
it's just so ballsy to make a film like this. And what I've subsequently discovered is they reshot 70% of it because they cast the killer, and because the movie is told from loads of it with just the killer walking.
Yeah.
They lost the person who played the killer, and they then had to reshoot 70% of it because the person walked differently that they then hired. So they had to reshoot it.
Oh, jeez.
But still, only a movie with this kind of low budget would have the balls to do something so crazy
Yeah.
with this sort of genre film. I loved it. I really did. For all it tries, it's just so rule breaking in every way that you can't help but kind of admire it. At least I can't.
Yeah. Oh,
So if you get
that's
a
all
chance
right.
to see this in theaters, do it. It's only just come out here. I know Jordan saying in the chat he just saw it. I know from the weekend he said he'd been. It's just hit theaters here. It's probably been and gone in the US. I think it's out on 4K. I don't know if it's 4K Blu-ray. I think, but certainly out in September here. So it's probably out August sometime over there. And I highly recommend this. I mean, is it on Kaleidescape, Deej, out of curiosity?
I'm
I'd be
looking.
surprised.
No, it's
Yeah,
not. Not
it's
yet.
not.
Not yet.
It's a bit niche. It's a little bit niche, but I think it's worth
It
seeing
may.
when you
Yeah.
can. Yeah. It's
Because if
very,
anything,
very
it'd be
interesting.
under pre-order, and I
Mm.
have let's see, Touch, Maxine, Kill, Despicable Me 4, Quiet Place Day 1, and Janet Planet are the only ones. I think they're the only ones up for
I mean, it might
pre-order.
already be out. Mind, Deej, it may have already come out there. I wouldn't be surprised on Kaleidescape. But it's become a real notorious film, but in a good way. And so I definitely recommend this. I've been itching to talk about this since it came out, and really, really enjoyed it. For people like me that love this crap, it is well, I
Can't
know
get
what
a
it is and
review
what it's
like
not.
this anywhere else. This is great
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, well, this is proper crap and good crap.
Yeah.
Must see crap.
Yeah.
For, if you're into this kind of thing, this is a must see. This will become the kind of touchstone people will talk about, like Blair Witch Project was, like the Omen, like The Exorcist, in terms of movies that dared to be different and do something unusual, and then become all the more shocking because of it. So yeah, I can't wait to get this properly at home as well. I can't speak to the audio and video experience really. I mean, it looked great, but it was only a digital screener, so I can't really talk about that. But I imagine it'll be awesome because it's all in the woods, it's all quiet, following someone walking. All the noise should be
Like
all
Blair
around
Witch?
the room. Yeah, well, quite. Yeah,
Little
although funny enough, actually, Deej, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's also in 4:3, like Blair Witch was. So
Oh,
well
wow.
done. Thank you for mentioning that. Good man. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. So it is in 4:3. So no one panic. You get it home and think, I didn't get the widescreen version.
Right.
There's a deep cut as well.
Yeah.
I only got the pan and scan. Then and it is 4:3.
Will it come out on Laserdisc?
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's just so cool. I really, really recommend this if you're into this kind of thing. If you're not, steer clear because it's really violent.
Yeah, violence
and,
doesn't bother me.
Yeah, no,
As long as it's not being done to me.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, there we go.
I'll
Jordan
stand
says
and
the
watch.
sound. So Jordan says the sound was fantastic at the cinema. Oh, good news. Right,
Awesome.
good. Can't wait to
Awesome.
get it. Can't wait.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
All righty.
All right. Let's see. We got. Oh, here we go. We'll do these as a
Oh, yeah.
pair. You ready?
Twofer? Yeah.
A twofer.
A twofer. Yeah. All right. So I'm glad we see we're rattling through these, D. Just great. All right.
Yeah.
So so this one then is the 2014 remake of RoboCop. Now these have just come out from Shout over in the US. I've imported them. So it's RoboCop and RoboCop 2. But as I say, RoboCop is the remake of the 2014 version with Joel Kinnaman. I think I'm saying that right. Okay. And I watched these on the same day. Had some little bit of time off last week, so I watched the two back to back.
Okay.
Now, what do you think of the remake? The 2014 remake. Now, this one I know you've seen. You must have seen this.
Yeah, I saw it and I liked it, but I liked the original. I mean, I was fine with it. It's I'm just it didn't bother me. But it didn't really make me go, oh wow, awesome. Thank God they did it that way or anything. It's like I'm honestly not. I'm like, which is the saddest thing. It's just like I don't really care.
Ambivalent. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is
like,
fair enough.
Which is kind of sad, but I do remember not thinking that I hated it. I enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It's not like it was back. The original and the entire, the meaning of the original and when it came out. It's just so much to it. It's like if they tried to. Well, this is a horrible analogy, but. Because you can never compare, but imagine remaking like the original Star Wars. You can't, right? You can't. And it's like,
Yeah.
So I'm not saying RoboCop is the original Star Wars, but for kind of that genre, it's pretty. It's that big of a movie.
Yeah, well, quite well, yeah, and I agree. I mean, RoboCop, the 1987 RoboCop is an absolute masterpiece.
Hmm.
And you talk about unrated versions, and we did. That one has that one when it came out in the UK was given an X rating, which is
Yeah,
essentially
it's for violence,
virtually
but yeah, it was insane.
one step down from being banned.
Yeah,
And that so RoboCop is an absolute stone cold all day long classic. There is no argue with that. I've got that in 4K as well, and that's the unrated version too. The first one is untouchable, and they were
right.
quite brave to even try, really. So this one is absolutely not a patch on the first one. There is no even point trying to compare them. And I think, in fairness, they do try to steer pretty clear from that first one. It's not a beat for beat remake. It's
Right.
not shot for shot. They do try to differentiate it with varying degrees of success. I think it's fair to say, as a movie. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Joel Kinnaman personally. Anyway, I think he's a little bit charisma light. My personal opinion.
Light.
Yeah, well, he is diet charisma. Yeah. He's a little bit wooden. He doesn't really have a greatest deal of screen presence. And I think that even Gary Oldman, who is in this and who is awesome in everything he's in, struggles to really bring this to life, really. And Michael Keaton, who's in it as well, and again struggles with what he's got with the kind of Tim Cook character, or Steve Jobs character that he's playing, is struggling, I think, with some of this. But I don't hate this. I like the production design. I like how they've kind of this. What would happen if Apple made a policeman, a RoboCop policeman, or RoboCop, as it were? If Apple made a RoboCop, this is what it would look like. And I quite like that they've done that, because there's some interesting design aesthetics in that. And I like the Ed 209s, nowhere near as cool as the Ed 209s from the original, because that design was inspired. But I like that they've got them in these. I like the little drone things and all that stuff. So I think it's not greater than the sum of its parts, is what I'd say. There are bits of it I really, really like, but most of it's a bit there. And I get that. So the movie's still the same. Yeah, go on, sorry.
But what I was going to say is, like, everything you just said is probably why it's just like, you're like, because we have Apple. We can actually, they're not inventing anything in this movie, right? No. We're like, oh yeah, that could literally happen. We've thought it before this movie came out. When RoboCop came out, there was, Apple existed. It was Macintosh, but there was nothing like this. There was no, like, that's impossible. You could never do that. That in 87, it was like, there's no way you could do this. And now we're like, why haven't they done it already? Because it's legitimately like already a thing that you'd be like, so you know what I mean? So that right there, everything you just said about that, like it's nice that they leaned that way, but that's also what takes away from it being special or anything, right?
Yeah. But what they did try to do is bring it into the modern day. So rather than just clone the original one and just literally do it beat for beat, they have tried to give it this sleek, modern, what would it look like if Apple did do one? This is kind of right. So they do try that. And there is a line in here, I think there is almost exactly, does it come in black? So actually they do try and make him tactical, I think is what Michael Keaton says. So they spray him black. So the movie is exactly as it always was, and I think if it didn't do much for you before, it won't do much now. But this is one of those films that I am very glad to say is definitely enhanced by its HT experience. So what you get here is a beautiful, for the time it was made, transfer of the film. The HDR in this really and works wonders for this, because of course that sleek, clean, high contrast design is made for HDR. And so there are details in this that I just never thought possible. There's stuff they've done in this that I don't know what they were thinking, because there's no way in 2014, so 10 years ago, that they could have thought to need to do that to hide the effects work. And what I mean by that is this: there are a number of shots of RoboCop when he becomes RoboCop, where now in 4K, And so you've got the added detail and then obviously the high contrast. You can see reflections in the armor of things that he is looking at and stood in front of that you cannot see on the Blu-ray. So there's no way that when this was shown in theaters that anyone would have been able to see that level of detail.
Right.
But they have taken the time to fix those reflections. You can't see the camera, you can't see any crew members or anything like that. At one point, there is such a clear reflection off of the armor. You can see the lines in the road, the painted lines on the road in the armor. And that was invisible on Blu-ray. I know because I checked. And so but on the 4K disc, you can see it. And I was absolutely blown away by that. That's the kind of thing that gets me excited.
Oh, yeah.
Probably says that, again, as we talked about, maybe suggests the drama's not working. But nevertheless, I was excited at having seen that. So that looked really cool. It's got a decent audio track. It always has. It's not Atmos or DTSX. It's in DTS HD 5.1, obviously up next to Neural X. And that does sound really good. And there's a nice opening sequence set in the Middle East somewhere where you've got drones flying around. There's drones again. And you've got the Ed 209s kind of, thudding along the streets, and the voices that they've got telling people to, not desist and to cooperate. And all that lot sounds great and really beefy. And when the guns start to go, you feel that. So overall, the film's the film. It's not going to set the world on fire. It's not amazing, but it's all right. But it's definitely made better by what is a really good transfer from Shout. They've spent some time on this. It really does look and sound great. So again, I think it's worth seeing. You might like it more this time, but I do recommend it. I thought it was good, but just so we know, nowhere near as good as the original. No one's saying otherwise.
No, I'm always up for a great home theater experience. The movie.
Oh,
I mean, I own Casper, so say no more.
Yeah.
Multiple times now. So
Yeah, well,
I mean, we're not up to Bloodshot level, but I own Casper multiple times.
It's great. Casper, who you going to call? Someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, all right. What do we got here?
Well, let's do 2 because you've got RoboCop 2 in there, Deej. We'll do that one probably next week, mate. Because looking at the time, there you go. That one there we'll probably do next week. As much as I'm keen on talking about that one as well, but we'll leave that till next week.
All right.
Let's do RoboCop 2 now.
Here we go.
All righty. So RoboCop 2, as you might have guessed from the picture. And we talked about
let's do RoboCop 2.
Yeah, you got a good idea. Yeah, as well.
As well. RoboCop 2 too.
222 as well. So this is RoboCop 2. Then another Shout release out the same day, I think, in the US as the remake of RoboCop. Again, 4K UHD disc, DTS HD 5.1. And RoboCop 2. What did you think of RoboCop 2, Deej?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it when I saw it the first time. Loved it. Saw it in the theaters. I was like, what year was this one?
Good
89,
question.
90?
90 or 91, I think it was.
Yeah.
One of the two. I'll go with 91.
And I was, I mean, you think I love everything now. I mean, it's like,
90, Paul Hurt says. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
So, nice. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And I think it's a film that I didn't see it in theaters. This was just on the cusp of me being able to get into 18 rated movies. The first one I saw was Total Recall. Talk another Paul Verhoeven movie about the original RoboCop. And that was the first 18 rated film I got into, and I was not 18. And so this was just on that cusp. I just missed it. And I've always liked this film. I love how over the top this movie is. I love how, talk about breaking the rules. Where you've got a kid killer and the kid's the killer, and and people getting chopped up while they're still alive, and it's gloriously ultra violent, and still keeps the sense of humor from the first movie as well, with the various commercials and adverts and stuff. And of course directed by Irvin Kershner. Directed by Irvin Kershner, of course, who did Empire Strikes Back. So, he's got geek cred already. Someone who can take a sequel and make it darker.
Yeah.
If we could call Empire a sequel, maybe not. because it's all kind of part of the same story. But anyway, so this is I do like this film. I've always had a soft spot for this movie. I like the design of it. I like the effects work. I like the RoboCop 2 design is kind of cool. Again, Gatling guns. What's not to like?
One of your favorites.
Oh yeah, and it's just uproariously over the top. I love it. So this film is one I was great, and this actually I do believe was the first movie I bought on DVD in that heady summer of 1998 in Cambridge Audio or Sam Goody. It might have been Sam Goody.
Sam Goody.
Yeah. It may have been Sam Goody or Suncoast. One of the two. One of those was where I bought it, and this was the first one. I bought this, and I bought Screen 2. Both were non-anamorphic, and this one had a snapper case. You remember the old plastic snapper cases?
Yeah,
so that's what this had. And both, non-anamorphic, looked like absolute trash, I'm sure, if I went back and saw it now. But at the time, it was like, oh, DVD. Look how good this looks.
Well, yeah,
and so,
better than VHS.
Yeah, quite. Yes, absolutely. And I have never replaced it, so I didn't have it on Blu-ray. I don't know if it's even come out on Blu-ray. If it has, it's not very good because there's been lots of criticism of it.
Yeah.
But this is, Deej, a must-buy if you like this movie. You will love how this looks, and you'll love how it sounds. Get ready with your cha-ching. Okay?
No, yeah, it's not on Kaleidescape yet. And you're talking the 4K?
Shout, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kaleidescape does get shout stuff, though.
They do, or they don't?
Yeah, they do.
Cool. Okay, all right. Well, there you go.
They do have stuff with them.
It is beautiful to look at for the kind of movie that it is. Now, don't be fooled. When you first put it on, the opening, of course, is an advert, and it's the car alarm thing with the shocking car alarm thing. And of course, that has all the scan lines that TV of that time would have had. So when it starts, you've got this, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, what the hell is this?" And yet, it is a deliberate joke, probably a joke of the people that did the transfer, frankly, because then it cuts to proper footage, and your jaw will hit the floor. It's gorgeous.
Just that contrast alone.
Yeah.
Well, we've had other movies do the exact same thing, and you're like, oh, okay. And you see that, like, they'll bring you into the TV. So you get the contrast lines on your screen. And, like, what we have now are, like, I'm at 110. You're at, what, 75?
75, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's huge. And then to have, like, 480.
Yeah.
And then they go to the modern, and you're like, oh, it's just such a shock.
And it's deliberately like that on this. It's really good. So it's not quite like a brand new film, but in terms of quality with a modern release. But what it is like seeing this movie for the first time. And I don't say that lightly because I've seen this film many, many times, and it genuinely felt like this is new. It looks fantastic. Loads of detail. All the fun. You can now see all the old, because there's obviously a fight in an arcade, and you can see all the old-fashioned arcade machines and all the various things, and that's a trip down memory lane in and of itself. Yeah. Because I think Data East was did the RoboCop game, and so all their old arcade machines are in this arcade, and you can see them, which is a nice trip down memory lane.
The old RoboCop game. Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So all that stuff's in there. It is awesome. And it is genuinely like seeing it for the first time. I mean, okay, look, there are stop motion effects. There's only so much work you can do with those. And, so it was a while ago that it was made, but it still looks great. And this is the version to own by miles. There is no other version of this film anyone should own if you've got a 4K player, because it looks awesome. So film hasn't aged, still just as good as ever, but this is an exceptional transfer for a film of this age, of this type, and the way it was done. So yeah, if you are listening or you're watching and you like the movie like we do, then pick this up. I did import it. It was not crazy expensive, but it wasn't cheap either. But I'm really glad I did, because there's no sign of a UK release of this. So, import it if you're this side of the pond. And if you're in the States, you've got no excuse. So, yeah, very cool.
Steve.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, and by the way, apologies for the video thing. By the way, the picture, it was a moving menu. So again, I had to snap that as quickly as I could. That looks way grainier than it is when you see it. It's not
Yeah.
like that in the movie. So yeah, very
Go
cool.
watch it on YouTube. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true.
You
So
know
there
what
we
it's
go.
like
Yeah,
when you
very cool.
watch on your iPhone?
I couldn't possibly comment.
So which one do you want to go to next? Because
Hmm.
we could do a few more.
You got time? You want to really talk about your one, don't you?
Yeah, but we still got 40 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do this one then. That next one there, and we'll do that
All right.
because that's quite a new release. So yeah,
All
we
right.
can cover this one.
Here we
And I
go.
can whet your appetite with this. Okay, you will not have a clue, anyone that hasn't seen it, what the movie is from that screen.
No.
Because it's another one of these. This is a Universal disc over here, and they like to do these kind of slightly cryptic menus. This is Monkey Man. Dev Patel directed, written, and starring Monkey Man. Now, Deej, I don't think you've seen this. I'm assuming you
No.
haven't. Have you
No.
heard of it? Do you know what it's about?
Nope.
Okay, prepare to have your appetite whetted. And it'll be worth checking to see if it's on Kaleidescape over there. I'll be surprised if it's not.
I am
Way ahead of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is Monkey Man on 4K disc and in Dolby Atmos. Just came out here not yesterday, last week.
Yep.
And
$24.99 on
there you go.
Kaleidescape, 4K, SDR, HDR10, and Dolby Atmos. So the full game.
Okay, right.
There you
Okay.
go.
Get ready then, Deej. Get your finger hovering over that
Jordan
buy button.
Peele, yeah.
Yeah, so produced by Jordan Peele. Yeah, so this is a movie about a relatively sort of young man in India who is played by Dev Patel, who, as I say, directs this. This is his directorial debut. I mean, what a movie to start with. Who is a working kind of dead end jobs. We don't know why initially, and subsequently transpires that he spends his evenings in basically in the ring getting the crap beaten out of him by people, and he then spends his day doing sort of menial dead end jobs. And it becomes apparent after not too long, it's no spoilers, it's in the trailer, that actually he is about to embark on a rip roaring rampage of revenge. And this is a revenge tale. And he adopts at one point the persona of the Monkey Man, which is wearing a monkey mask. And this has all kinds of Indian religious connotations and cultural connotations and about monkey gods and things like that. But at its heart, it's a rip-roaring rampage of revenge. And it has shades of John Wick, which it directly references at one point.
That shot right there, I thought it I'm like, is that a John Wick movie? You know, because it looks just
very
like
deliberate.
It looks like a scene from John Wick.
You get long take, brutal, crunching fight sequences. I've got a feeling, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the stunt guy, I don't think Chad Stahelski actually was directly involved, but I think his stunt team were, in terms of the training and the choreography and all that stuff, because it's very John Wick. And as I say, they do mention it. So you get these long takes, you get brutal fights. He's not anywhere near as well trained as John Wick, though. So the fights are brutal in both directions. It's not just him meting out the punishment, it's him receiving the punishment as well. And it is riveting. It's a kind of a John Wick movie, but with cultural sensitivity, a John Wick movie with interesting overtones, with real character development, where you don't fall down the same set of stairs 50 times. And it's not 5 hours long.
It's 2.5.
Yeah, well, it flies by. It does fly by.
All right.
And because there is a I mean, I love the John Wick movies, you know that, and this isn't a slight on them. But what I like about this movie takes its time to build its characters. You get to know these people and kind of what happens, and it's very, very interesting. So it's fantastic. The action's really good, the acting's really good, the story's really well done. It's a really good movie. So great film, well worth seeing. Luckily, looks and sounds fantastic as well. It's not reference, I don't think. I'm not quite at reference with this because I've just seen something yesterday, which we'll talk about next week, that is reference all day long. Reference plus, if there is such a thing, but we'll get to that next week. but it's still very, very good. So it's shot digitally. It's really detailed, obviously because of where it was shot, and it wasn't shot actually in India. I think it was shot in Indonesia, but they've obviously tried to make it look like India, and so you've got a lot of very dark, kind of dingy kind of environments, lots of kind of very poorly lit areas, which all looks great. And it's meant for 4K because the HDR pulls that out. The black levels are really black. The brights are bright. It's all good. And there's lots of stylized stuff like you can see there. So very red on black, and kind of how that interplays is really nice. So looks good. Sounds great. All the bones crunching are every bit as icky as you want it to be. There are some gun blasts which sound great. It's really good. The music is well done. This is a really solid movie. And one I think, Deej, you will really enjoy. Does Jen, by the way, Jen like the kind of the John Wick style kind of movies or not?
Not really.
Because these are a bit. This one's a bit richer than John Wick in terms of its story.
Yeah, not really the action for action's sake type of, Yeah, she'd sit through it if I said, "Do you want to go? I need somebody to go with me."
Well, what she might get more out of this than John Wick is that John Wick's just one big fight. This has a story. It's about child trauma. It's about domestic violence. It's about how that impacts on you. It's about how that impacts on those around you. It's about healing and that. So there's actually there is more psychological elements to this than just I'm going to just beat the crap out of you in my suit. There's more to that, and so she might actually really enjoy this. It might be one of those. This is a way into the John Wick movies, in a culturally rich way. So yeah, I recommend this. I really did enjoy it, and it was my first watch in Cinema George as well. I didn't see it at the cinema, so yeah, recommend it. There you go. Look at that.
There you go.
Ka-ching. Oh, ka-ching.
Ka-ching.
Good man. Good man.
Yep. So
good. Yep, it's there. So when you get chance. Stick it on the list. But I think you'll get a real kick out of it.
2.5 hours to spare
this time next year,
but it'll be there when I need it. So
quite, and John
and I got an early copy, so I know they won't run out. That's John's joke.
That is true. Yeah, it is
I
John.
buy
well, John,
early.
John, if you're listening to this, when you've recovered from your jet lag, and if you get a chance to give this a go, I think you'll get a real kick out of it as well. For all of those same reasons, you get the action, but there's story to it as well. So yeah, really recommend it. I thought this was good.
Nice.
I'd heard good things, and now I see why.
Captain AC3 with a good comparison. John Wick meets nobody. And people not referencing is like nobody is actually a movie, not like if you ran into nobody. Because there's no action there. Just waving his arms.
It's John Wick.
Just in the room on his arms. Shooting at the air.
Now both of those movies are fantastic, and I love both of those. But this is, I think it, and I mean this respectfully, AC3. Don't think I'm being rude. I'm not. That's a little bit reductive than this kind of movie. This movie is aiming at a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
it's not
more story.
Art house. Yeah, it's not gone quite art house. It's not that far onto it, but it's moving in that direction. It's trying to give it a cultural touchstone beyond just beating the crap out of people, which actually makes it a richer story. So yeah, nobody's great. John Wick's fantastic. This does have elements of those. But with a very real story that it wants to tell as well. And that's when you're sitting with something for 2.5 hours, it's nice to have a bit of meat on the bones rather than just this kind of, bare bone, and bone breaking, fight. So yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, really cool. Again, I'm not looking at the chat though. Sorry, D, just me chatting away. I'm, looking at you and looking at the screen and then not looking at the chat. So what have we got?
We got, Jordan absolutely loved Monkey Man. Dave Patel did a fantastic job with this. I'm so glad Universal released on a physical 4K. I mean, people are loving it. I mean, I've heard good things about it. I just didn't know anything about it. And that's probably more on me because I'm not like super attuned to anything else right now, except when I sit down here, go, wow, new. Did you hear about that new movie, Titanic? Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that I know.
Oh,
That
good.
I know.
Yeah, and AC3 just says apologies. I was guessing without seeing. No, AC3, I
No.
was not picking on you and having a pop at you, not at all. And I knew that's what you were doing. It
Yeah.
just I feel a little bit of a responsibility to the movie, having seen it,
Yeah.
to say that it's a little more than those, even though those movies are lovely and I own them both in 4K.
Right.
It
And it's
just
good
this
for
is a
like
film.
AC3 to
Yeah.
say that so that you can
Oh, yeah.
say, like elaborate, right? Because
Yeah,
if people are
exactly
thinking
that,
the
yeah.
same thing later, even in the audio only, they'll be like, "Oh, so it isn't exactly that." No, that's all good.
Yeah. So absolutely, yeah. So not having a pop AC3. This is a
Yeah.
It's just there is this is that and then a bit more as well.
Yep.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Are you going to lay it on us?
Oh,
What you are dying to tell
oh
us
my
about?
God. It's so we did talk about this last week, and let me pull it up. So we did talk about this last week, but I don't, even with Shane here, I don't think we did this justice. So let's get to it, and here we go.
Go
So,
push play.
wrong button.
Although you mean that too.
Yeah. Go push play on Twister in 4K with Dolby Atmos, the recent release. I got it. I mean, it dropped on Kaleidescape the same day because it is from the studio. This isn't from, a boutique shop or whatever you want to call it. But we did have, and what I was excited to talk about last week, and Shane came in and popped in and explained that it is a new audio track. People had talked, online saying it's probably the same or this or that from the Turbine release that I did import. I know John imported it. You got it first, Steve, right? Or I think Francis Amoko, I think, was one of the first people to tell me about it a long time ago, that it is available. And it was like, this is how you get it. Because remember, I got it with Daylight, as you mentioned last week, right?
Yeah.
And it is that the Turbine it's a great disc. Let me rephrase that. It was a great disc. It was a great disc. It is not anymore. You want to know what the difference between upmixing and a true remastered Dolby Atmos track is? Maybe you should buy the Turbine. I'm telling you, don't bother. Just get this. And if you want to know if any scenes are different, I got 2 of them for you. And it's the audio in this is stunning. Ralph is 100% right. Ralph Potts, when he did his review, he hadn't even written it, and he texted me. He's like, "This is amazing," and he'd never heard the Turbine. Never mind. It is absolutely stunning how good this audio is on this 4K track, on this Atmos track. Okay, opening scene. We all know the opening scene. You've got the storms, Carl, wherever you are, buddy, Carl Ellsworth, wherever you are. Yeah, buy this, get your Atmos going. It's like the thunder, everything that's going on in that opening scene is absolutely, you're going to be blown away regardless. Okay. We've all seen it. And Steve, what did I say many, many years ago about this track? And I said it last week. What did I say that I didn't like? That really I never put the Twister audio as number one. Why?
Because it was all a bit muddy, just lots of stuff going on. Mm-hmm.
Because that's all they had to do. It wasn't, there was no nuance to it because it's just sound for sound's sake whipping around.
Fury. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that was great. Back in the 90s, that was great. That's what you wanted. It's like, oh my God, my room's alive. That's all you cared about. Now we need a little bit more nuance. That's why Gravity has such, a following, because it's so discreet. It's so like, oh my God, it's all the little tiny sounds. This is up there. This is up there. Maybe surpasses Gravity, because you've got nuances. And your room is like literally being destroyed. It's with sound all around your room. You're feeling the twist of the wind around the room throughout this. Okay. Now that opening scene going A-Being, or as we call it with my Lumagen, I go from 1 to 3. So 1 is the input that I have for the Kaleidescape, and 3 is the input I have for my Panasonic 820. I can pop 1-to-1 in literally like 5 seconds. So I play a scene, 5 seconds, play it again. Bang. The opening scene, I told you, spoilers for poor Steve. I already told him this because I was so excited before we got going. We all know the opening scene. They got to get to the bunker, and they get there, and the father goes and he holds the door, and Greg the Awesome Ninja is like, why is he doing that? Why doesn't he just stay with the family? And I explained to him, and he goes, oh, yeah, you're right. So anyways, so the father's holding the door, right? I just threw Greg under the bus and up into the twister with that one. So the father's holding the door, and the father gets sucked out of the bunker, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know the scene. You see them look at, the mom's looking up through the lights and the little portal and the sounds all around the room. It is an incredible scene. The turbine version sounds awesome, but it's crap. Because when this new remastered 4K, completely redone, when that father goes out, there is an audible suck from the back of your room right up to the front of your room, and the father's gone. That does not exist at all on the turbine. And you don't know what you're missing until it's missing, right? Turbine sounds great until you're like, wait a minute. Where did that go? And as soon as I heard it I watched the whole movie on Kaleidescape first to get the whole thing. And I'm like, it was. And you knew right away. I knew right away it was an awesome experience, right? And then I'm like, but sometimes you get so excited about the new stuff that you're like, when you go back, you're like, oh yeah, there's the sound. I just never noticed it before. Yeah, I know. Craig. So you don't notice these things. I've done it so many times. And then you'll be like, well, it's just so much more, pronounced now with the new Atmos or whatever. It's literally not there. I was shocked that it wasn't. I'm like, there was nothing. I went back 5 times. I'm like, it's just not there. So then the other scene, which we all know, cows. We got cows. We all love that, and it's great. And even on the turbine, the cows are you're like, there's a cow.
It goes right around,
yeah. In this, it is pronounced. It's just so discreet. Goes behind you, goes around the room. It's so clean. Like Shane said last week, the clarity of every sound. It's not muddy. There's sounds. I forget. I told you at the beginning. I was hoping I could remember now, but there's one earlier in the movie that it's so discreet that on your right side of your room, I think somebody's talking or something, and then whatever it is, it moves and pans to the front. But then on the turbine, it's just like floating at the front the entire time. It's off to the right, but it's just floating at the front. So it's not even close. And you know how much we loved the turbine release.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that's all we had, right? And it was like, and it says Atmos. It's not. It is not. There's no way. All they did is they upconverted a 5.1 and put it out. Because they didn't, if you know how Atmos is done, and go back and if you want to listen to Brent Butterworth, and he talks about how they do it, how they master these, how this can happen, how it's made, it's completely different. But you can do an up mix where you push a button and it turns it into.
Yeah, as your lawyer, Deej, let's just, we can't say it's not Atmos. We don't know for sure how they did it. It is Atmos, isn't it? Because it says it on their disc.
Correct.
But it's better on the new version.
Yeah. Well, sue me.
Yeah.
It's not mastered by the studio.
Yeah, there you go. Now, here's my question for you, Deej. Tell me this, because this has just popped into my head. Because now, has that whoosh sound, just for lack of a better example for now, has that whoosh sound, do you think, always been there since 1996, and we've not had the equipment to bring it out? Or is that something that's been added? We're talking about remastering. Do you think that they've added extra sound elements into this with this new version?
That's a great question. That's a great question, because how do you know? You'd have to talk to the studio themselves, because if we didn't have the capabilities to get it, it's easier to say that on picture, right? Because with your picture, like when we go to Casablanca or Lawrence of Arabia, that's shot on such, if you have good film stock, that's better than any digital version we could ever get. It's just all there. And can we pull that out? And also, you can't really go back and improve upon any of that. You can't add to that necessarily, right?
Yeah,
audio is different.
Yeah,
It's audio is different. Audio is done after the fact, most of it anyways. Like you said earlier, puppets don't talk. They had to ADR that. That's amazing, right? But they do that with people, obviously. But most of the sounds, if you've ever watched any of the specials, it's like a horse goes by and it's some guy in a back room going clippity clock.
Couple of coconuts.
Coconuts. Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. Coconuts. They don't actually record a horse galloping or something, right? They make it more, they find it's more realistic when they fake it, and they can add that in, and they can add that into the audio level that they want. They can move it to where they need it to be in the room. They can do all of that, right? So I don't know. Didn't they do that with the Lord of the Rings? Like, he remastered that whole thing, both picture and sound. He added stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it depends on what you mean by, I suppose, by the word remaster. Because if it's just to take out audio pops and little, and just to clean up the audio, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you're adding new elements to it, that's not a remaster. That's a new track, isn't it? That's no longer a remaster.
Right.
So I wonder whether
we called that a George Lucas.
a special edition. So I wonder whether, if you're hearing this whoosh from the back of the room, now why would they have added that to a track in '96 if no one could hear it? Because then did this, if it was 96, it wouldn't have had EX at that point, so it would have only been a 5.1 mix.
But
that
you
was
still
99
have
with Phantom Menace.
But so we had DTS that came out in '93 with Jurassic Park. So you have competition there. This literally, I think Twister was the first DVD. That was the big release, and it's been okay. John saying it's not remastered; it has been remixed. So they're going. That's awesome, and it's like. But that's, and I mean, without John, we wouldn't know that. You don't know that, because how would you, right? Because our systems couldn't pull that out anyways. And whatever theater you were in probably wasn't pulling it out either. You had the capability. 5.1 can do exactly that. That's not a problem. But what they've done here, it's incredible. It's so clean. It's the bass. It's not. I wouldn't say it's not like you're like my remote didn't light up a ton. It did, but it's not like you're not going to walk out of this and like, I'd love to see I'll love to talk to Todd, what Bass Hunters thinks of this, over at AV Nirvana. He breaks this down. But this is more about this is literally, I don't know if they really listened to what everybody was saying about Gravity and then they took this, because a lot of people like, it's just crazy sound. And they took that craziness out and created nuances in a chaotic situation. And it's an unbelievable from beginning to end. Even the dialogue.
Well, so John Thompson again. I mean, he's our guru on this. I mean, he's for those wondering, John won't mind us saying he's a producer and indeed post-production producer. So this would have been exactly in his wheelhouse. Excuse me. So it says he went back. It says stems. I think he means stems. So he went back to the stems and relayed it into Atmos, and it took 3 months. Again, I think is what it means by that. Now, so again, the turbine one could well be an Atmos, but it's an Atmos of the original mix, perhaps just messed with slightly to give it the extra things. Whereas this is a remix. It's a complete it's a new mix. It's a new edition of the movie. So so again, we've got to be careful. But I mean, that does bode well then. I mean, and again, that does heighten my excitement. So John says stems. There we go. So it does heighten my excitement for it. Still not enough to import it. I will get it in September. There's so much stuff, but I am very much looking forward to it because I do like the movie, and I always have. And anything that it's a movie that is very much sound driven. and always has been, and
Yeah.
hence why you get these shots that are where it holds on the storm and lets the storm rage around you, because that it really is about a demo thing for sound.
Yeah.
But also, I know the picture's very good as well, isn't it, Deej?
Steve, it's like
Smooth.
I mean, you couldn't have done it. We didn't do it. It took us 6 takes to get that right in rehearsal. Oh my God, Steve, like hold the phone, because
I
this
will.
used to be a sound movie. It all about the sound. Oh my God, Twister. There you go. Hold the phone. There you go. Dad joke. Wow. This far in, an hour and 39 minutes, and the first dad joke showed up.
Hell yeah.
The sound on this, yes, it is now in the upper echelon for sound movies for me. Okay. Absolutely. It is. And this is, I'm surprised that we didn't talk about this with Shane last week. But I'm kind of excited because I don't know. And I told you this earlier this weekend. I'm like, I'm not online. I'm not reading. So maybe I'm not the first person, but this picture is stunning. Absolutely stunning. It takes you and puts you in these storms. Okay. The turbine version is nice. It's only a Blu-ray, the turbine, to be fair. So that's all they had to work with. It's a Blu-ray. But that, it's like, and we were so blown away, pun intended, by the audio on that's all we cared about. When you see this picture-wise, and you go back and forth, if you have the turbine or the old Blu-ray, and you just go back and forth, turn the audio off and just watch the picture and go back and forth. It's let's just start. It's cleaned up. There's dirt, there's specks and stuff in the old turbine that you're fine with, because it looked fine, it looked okay, and you had that Atmos track, right? That's what the Blu-ray was. This is completely cleaned up, looks beautiful. The colors, rich, full gamut. I mean, everything. But the HDR and being able to however if they redid the entire, I don't know, when you do the HDR, John, maybe you can chime in again, whatever they did with this. But when you're heading to a storm, the storm is dark. And with these kind of storms, with the idea is there's a storm there, but like they say in the movie, it hit this house, but not this house. Well, the storm's there, but it's not there. So this side's sunny, this side has a storm, right? In the original, like all the versions we ever owned before, you didn't know that. They told you that, and you saw in the distance, you'd be like, okay, they're heading to a storm. That's nice. In this one, you feel it. You see it on the screen. You feel that sense of dusk. You feel that sense of like, okay, like when they're on the side of the road and they're getting their coffees or whatever and their drinks, or they're getting a tire repaired, there's a storm looming because it feels like dusk, but it's the middle of the day. We here just went through an eclipse, okay, a full eclipse in northern United States. Came through. The whole place gets really dark, and it's really weird. It's not dark like night. It's just really just dim. That's what this is like, but then it can be sunny someplace else. On the turbine or the Blu-ray version, everything's bright. And nobody minds bright. Everybody thinks, I got a light cannon of a projector, or my screen can do bright, and you do bright, and bright is great. No, bright sucks when you're going into a storm. So I happen to have some images, a couple of images. So let's go with this. Here we go. We all know this scene. They're racing. This is the first time they're racing off, and this is the bad guys racing. And look at that. Nice, bright lights, everything like that. It looks great. Bright headlights, bright, lights up top, the blinking lights in the back. When you watch this live, everything looks great. But look how bright it is out.
This is the turbine mix one, isn't it? This is the turbine Blu-ray. Yep.
Look at that. That's heading to a storm. Look at how bright those lights are now, because they're the same brightness they are here. And this is done. I set my phone, set my camera, locked everything, and it just flipped back and forth. 5 seconds for me to go from this one. Whoops, we don't want that. To this one. Now, I don't know if people online are going, it's too dark, it's blah, blah, blah. No, this is what it's supposed to look like, because there are scenes in the movie where, and we all know these scenes, where they're heading to the storm and you see the dark clouds and it's dark in the where you're looking, and then the camera pans, turns around, like it spins, and now you're looking into the car, in through the windshield, right? When they spin, this dark that you're seeing here with these trucks, not in this particular scene, but when they spin, all of a sudden, everything behind the car that you're looking through the windshield, bright and sunny, and your whole screen brightens up. The scene for this, they have Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton getting ready in the truck. Right? In the original version, in the turbine version, it's bright like this. It looks like a well-lit scene. You can see their foreheads perfectly. Everything's great, and they're talking and they're doing their thing. You'd never know what you missed until it goes to this version, and you see like it's dark. You can't really make out their head. It's like they're looking around. It's like it's more appropriate. The lighting is so much more appropriate. And go back to the opening scene, like I said, with, going into the bunker and stuff, the lightning in the background, when that lights up, the lightning is brighter. This is the thing. In HDR to SDR, your brights aren't getting brighter and your darks aren't getting darker. What's happening is when you go from SDR to HDR, it's allowed to drop drastically from one to the other, so you can get a brighter piece of lightning in there without worrying about it dropping off. So like in an SDR, you want a piece of lightning, it can only be so bright because I've got to drop to black right after that. In this, you can have a nice fine line of really bright in there, and depending on your display, how bright can it get and how much of a gradation can you get in that little tiny line of a piece of lightning. That's what HDR is. Then add in the vibrancy that you're getting of, like, you're seeing when that lightning lights up in the background, you're seeing the greens of the trees and the blues of the sky. It's a night sky, but you're seeing all of that in more detail than you are on the Blu-ray version. It's literally, it is stunning. And then, but going back and forth like this, so many scenes when they're heading down the road and the little lights, those like flashing lights on the roofs of the car really pop off the screen because they're heading into the dark. And what really noticed it for me was like those scenes on the side of the road, knowing how, like, what it's like to be outside when a storm is coming and you're like, wow, it's really bright over there, but now it's dark over you. And I'm wondering if people are going to be, because if your TV isn't calibrated correctly, and we've gone over this a bunch of times, right, Steve? And they're like, it's way too dark. I don't think it looks good. You're not seeing that difference. And in a movie, as the movie plays out, where it's part of the movie, people might think that's wrong. And I think this has been remastered or rescanned, or John's saying something now. Did you read that?
So he says on Twitter, so the same team that did The Fugitive, which was a lovely remaster, worked on this, and it's scanned on a Northlight, which is a VFX scanner. And Devon, we know, and again, Shane mentioned last week, Jan Devon supervised the grade and also the sound mix. So if it's a VFX scanner, then John, does that mean the VFX are being upgraded as well? Because that's the other thing that I wondered whether the 4K might mess with, because some of those twisters looked a little ropey before. I wonder whether the 4K fixes that.
While John tries to answer in the chat, I'll tell you the only effect that I saw that wasn't up to snuff was in the opening scene. They show like a wide shot of just the sky. It's pretty gray and dark, and it goes like and the screen freezes. And you get some like you get a lot of grain, and then it moves again, and that's the only scene at the very, very beginning. And it is an improvement over the Blu-ray, but you kind of see it in the Blu-ray as well. And it will set you up, like at the very beginning, you'll be like, oh, all right, what's happening here? And it gets like a little grainy. And it's just that opening visual effect of them showing a dark sky and some thunder. And I'm not even sure if it's lightning. I feel like that particular scene didn't have discrete lightning. It's like when lightning happens behind the clouds and they just light up. So that's why it was like that. But the rest of the movie, when we get, we get the sisters, the two twisters together, those look beautiful. The water, the depth of the water, look like you could see that in that, like in those two in particular, right? There was one in the scene that I have up right now that I've grab pictures of. They say there's a part in the movie they're like, guys, are you almost done here? Do we want to go after that twister? That twister looks amazing. It's just like the I don't want to say 3D, but it looks really, really nice.
Okay.
Way better than it did on the Blu-ray version.
Okay, well because I was worried about how it was going to look, because it's always looked quite a murky movie and quite soft at times, and I always figured that's because they were trying to hide some of the VFX work. So if they fixed that, or at least done something with it, here we go. Yeah, I'll be careful. All right, I won't read that how you've typed it, John. The quality is better as it's very slow on VFX shot.
Yeah,
they're only normally a few seconds, so to do a whole movie takes just over a week to scan. So he did do some shots. Okay, right, there we go. All right, wow. So where he wasn't happy with the VFX, so that does bode well. All right, again, my interest is being more and more piqued as each week goes on.
Yeah, it is. It's, I mean, definitely worth. I think it's worth importing and getting it. I mean, if you don't like to wait, I don't know. I don't know how much it would be. I know you.
It's not the cost. It's just there's so much out. It's just like, well, Chris has got interesting. What do you think of this?
I love it. So here's the thing: is I was going to say the same thing. So Chris Brown saying in the chat, I have to say that my hue synced lights with Twister was incredible. When the lightning would strike, my room would light up like a real storm. I like that, but now I'm saying when you go between this. Your room isn't going to light up with the storm when everything is bright in your room already, right? So you need your hue lights to do that. But when you, I hate when that happens. When you go from this and then all of a sudden the whole screen and you get the light, you don't need your hue lights with the new version. If you have a large screen taking up your room, it is literally like, oh my God. It's like my son and I have watched movies where they'll use a spotlight and we're like, why do we need a brighter screen? Because that spotlight is like, it hurts. In certain movies, I think Die Hard was one of them, and it's so in this particular disc where they bring the scene down, they bring the lighting down like it would be appropriately. It'd be dark outside in a storm like this, right? So everything's closing. Your irises are closing, your pupils are closing. Sorry, everything's closing, and you're like ready. And then all of a sudden they make the screen go bright. You're like, it hurts. It's fun. It's the way it should be. It's like being out in a storm.
No, good. Well, like I said, my interest is definitely peaked, Deej. I am. Yeah, I mean, mind you, having said that, I don't think I could import it anyway. It's not available, is it? No one can get it anywhere. But I will wait for September, then I'll get all excited all over again, and that'll give you another reason to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's I'm not doing the AB again. I did the whole movie, and I'm not doing it again. I'll just go with this and know what I'm getting. It's very, it's incredible. It is. Oh boy, could it be the disc of the year?
Ooh,
it's good.
Well, I think I might have seen the disc of the year this week, but we'll talk about that next week.
I don't know if I mean, that's definitely, I mean, it's even for me to think of it, but I think what I'm thinking of is because the comparison from where we came from. But if it is a completely different mix, it's a new, it's an updated, not it's, what did he call it? Not remastered. It's
a remix. It's a new mix.
Yeah,
exactly as you said. Yeah.
So it's a modern mix. It should be in contention because it's not something from the past. It's literally from now. They took and redid this today.
It will qualify for submission into the categories of HD Experience of the Year. I get that. Just John, just saying here, and I think we know from past experience when John says this, I think we can get excited.
Yeah.
So John says on Gravity, that's actually been remixed recently. I wonder why.
Oh,
I think I can imagine why that would be. And that's got my excitement juices flowing. That's for sure. Wowzers. Yeah. That's one that will need some proper work.
But I don't think you could. I guess you could improve on it, but you can't add this. Like this has always been like a crazy mix that you couldn't add, that you can clean and you can make it more discreet, but yet still be chaotic. I'm not sure, like how do you take so discreet and quiet and make it more discreet and quiet? You can clean it a little bit, but
There's some craziness in that, though. It does
There
get
is,
to a point,
yeah.
one point where it does with the audio, with the music ramping up and up and up and up, and the everything swooshing and moving around. They can see some excitement there. I think it's the VFX that will need some work in that, because in 4K, bear in mind the entire movie is a visual effect. It will that's where it'll need some work. Okay, but we are excited. There we go. You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
There we
and
go.
I know
Right.
you've got to get out. We just hit the 7.
Yeah.
You've got a very, very busy day. And it's I thought I would have been done a few minutes ago with that, but I am very excited about that disc. And get it. I don't think anybody will be disappointed with that home theater experience. I'm literally considering it as one of the movies for the year. So, not sure it's going to be. But yeah.
Well, quite like I said, I think I've got one of my contenders to talk about next week. Oh boy, I can't wait to talk about that. Goodness me! So next week.
All right. We got to get out. Thanks, Steve. Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody in the chat. John's back in the States. Who knows, everybody? Who knows when John's going to make an appearance now? I don't know. I'm not putting any pressure on him. But yeah. So till next week, you know what you got to do.
Go push play.
What he said.
Hey, Fred.
This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.